Hare Krishna, dear devotees. This is Asraya Madhava Dasa from ISKCON of Silicon Valley, Mountain View. And we are having our regular online Bhagavad Gita class from ISV. This is being broadcasted at this point on both Facebook and YouTube, as well as mayapur.tv. Today's topic is going to be our Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute. And at the end, I will also summarize the sole substance of this chapter 7, which is basically a repeat of what Srila Prabhupada summarized. What is actually chapter 7 saying about, and that is what is going to be the topic for today. The way we will do it is we'll start with our Jai Radha Madhav prayers, which is very dear to our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, followed by Mangalacharan, prayers to invoke the blessings of the previous Acharyas. And then we will start with reading both the slokas and the translations of the chapter 7. Of course, before that, I'll give a little bit of background and why Krishna is saying what he's saying in chapter 7 from chapter 6. And then finally we will state, what is exactly, because there are a lot of topics discussed in chapter 7. So what is exactly Krishna trying to say? So let's start with that. Let me share my screen. Yeah. Check if it is being broadcasted now. Yes, broadcast is going on. Okay. So this is the Jai Radha Madhav prayer. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dhari Jaya Girivara Dhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Rajajana Ranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Rajajana Ranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo Hare Hare. Now we'll be singing the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanushute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ramo 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 Hare Hare. So let me give some background on Bhagavad Gita, okay, and then we will talk about chapter 7, knowledge of the absolute. So Bhagavad Gita was, as it's basically the previous acharyas considered this as one of the Upanishads. So Upanishads are almost like a summary of all Vedic knowledge, okay? But they are very abstract. Gita Upanishad is little bit special in the sense, although we find it sometimes very difficult to understand what Krishna is saying, at least what he's saying is straightforward. Unlike Upanishads, which are not, the things are not very straightforward in Upanishads. The reason we have difficulty understanding Bhagavad Gita is because it's not so much because of Krishna, but because of us, because we have so many attachments in our heart that we find it very hard to make sense of Bhagavad Gita. And that's why we often need association with the devotees, who Lord Krishna says repeatedly in Bhagavad Gita that they do understand him and what he speaks. Association with devotees, pure devotees specifically, is very important to understand the real meaning behind Bhagavad Gita. It was actually part of Mahabharata, and it was spoken, although the real speaker is Lord Krishna, it is actually related by Sanjay, one of the charioteer of Dhritarashtra, to Dhritarashtra, because Dhritarashtra was blind, he was in his palace, he could not go to the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So he asked Sanjay on the 10th day of the battle, when Bhishma Pitama, who was considered almost invincible by the side of the Kauravas, when he fell down on the 10th day of the battle and he gave that message to Dhritarashtra, then Sanjay gave the message to Dhritarashtra. Then Dhritarashtra asked, what did my sons and what did Pandavas do in the battlefield? Right? That's what he asked. What happened? And the context was that how come Bhisma Pitama fell down in the battlefield. The reason why the Acharyas picked, because there are other verses in Mahabharata before the verse, that is the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita. The reason why our Acharyas took that verse as the beginning of Bhagavad Gita is because Bhagavad Gita is actually addressing an eternal conflict of living entity. Who am I? Am I this body? Are the relations with my body, they belong to me? Or is there something deeper within me? Because that is what Dhritarashtra is asking. He is not, to him, the Pandavas are also his children, almost, because they lost their father. He should treat Pandavas and Kauravas both as his children. But he is not saying that. He is saying, my sons and Pandavas, what did they do? So I and mine and them. Then after that, Duryodhana is doing the same thing, my army versus their army. Under the influence of Yogmaya, Arjuna also, unfortunately, Arjuna also does the same thing. He says, Keshav, please take me to the middle of the battlefield so that I can see my enemies. So I and mine. These are my friends and those are my enemies. Krishna completely puts it other way, upside down to Arjuna, saying, behold the Kurus. So he's indirectly giving a message to Arjuna. That Arjuna, they are your enemies in the battlefield, but they are your relatives. They are Kurus. They belong to your family with whom you are going to fight. And then the message of Bhagavad Gita. So this concept of I and mine continues till the first 10 verses of the second chapter, when Lord Krishna, then takes Arjuna to the highest plane, which is the plane of the soul. And from there, he's asking Arjuna to now see all of these people. They were always there. They are there in this battlefield and they will be there. Maybe in different bodies, but the actual soul will always be there. They're eternal. So who are your friends and who are your enemies? Right? And so that eternal conflict of living entity, look at all the problems that is happening today, either in the house, in the family, in the community, in the nation, among the nations, with our climate, with the poor animals who get slaughtered. They are all happening because one and only one thing, us and them. Our conflicts, mental, health situation, all, if you analyze deep, you will find the main reason is the bodily concept of life. We start thinking the person I'm looking at in front of my mirror is actually me, because we cannot see the actual soul which is driving this body. Right? And of course, there are a lot more details to it. It is actually not the soul who is driving, but there are the 5 factors goes into it, right, which actually drives the body. Soul is one, super soul is another, the effort, endeavor of the soul, and then there are other things, senses, there are other things involved there. So we have to understand the Bhagavad Gita from that perspective, that Lord Krishna is actually trying to address Arjuna from various angles, that all these souls, all these living entities, and this is what is the crux of the 7th chapter, they belong to me and I have an eternal relationship with them. My relationship with them is eternal, life after life. Your relationship with them only in this life. You have a relation with that. Bhishma Pitama is your grandfather only in this life. But my relationship with Bhishma is in every life. In every lifetime, I have a relationship with him. Because those souls, those living entities are my parts and parcels. And we'll go through the 7th chapter to understand that what is Lord Krishna saying. Okay? And then we'll go a little bit of 6th chapter, and then from the 6th chapter towards the end, some verses there. We'll go through that. That will set the background for why Lord Krishna is speaking what he's speaking in the 7th chapter. Okay? So I'll share my screen and we'll go to our familiar database. Let's share my screen first. Okay. Screen is a little bit slow, so please bear with me. Yeah, very low. I hope all of you can see my screen. So what is 6th chapter? 6th chapter is actually Dhyan Yoga, right? That is the 6th chapter, and the English name is also Dhyan Yoga. Okay. So Dhyan Yoga. So yoga. What is yoga? Yoga is the literal meaning of yoga. Literal meaning is addition, because in Sanskrit, when you learn math, you will see there are two things: yog, viyog. Viyog means you subtract. Yog means you add. So literal meaning of yoga is add. So Dhyan Yoga is through meditation, I'm adding myself to the Supreme. Karma Yoga, through my work, by offering the results, to be precise, by offering the results of my work to the Supreme, offering the results, I'm adding myself to the Supreme. Similarly, Jnana Yoga. In the Jnana Yoga, through my knowledge, I'm adding myself to the Supreme. So adding is the literal word, but actually more appropriate word is connecting. We are connecting ourselves, because adding could often mean that when you add 2 and 3, 2 and 3 is gone. You have a new number called 5. But that's not really what is happening. You don't disappear into the Supreme. You still retain your identity. Because Supreme is eternal. If you are adding yourself to the Supreme, that means, logically speaking, the Supreme was incomplete without you. It is not true. Supreme is complete always. In Ishopanishad we have said, he is always complete. So you are actually connecting to the Supreme, and you are always part of the Supreme. Whether you are very close to the Supreme or whether you are away from the Supreme, trying to enjoy the material world, or you are close to the Supreme, serving the Supreme. You are always part of the Supreme. Doesn't matter in which state you are. You are always part of the Supreme. Okay. So this particular chapter is Dhyan Yoga. And Lord Krishna is saying that the people who practice this, okay, they need some extraordinary abilities, like, for example, controlling the mind, which is very difficult to control the mind. Okay. But they do that. And Arjuna says, I cannot do that when Krishna is advising, Lord Krishna is advising, because Arjuna, in the first chapter, if you remember, he wanted to go and beg, because he was thinking that all this battle, I will have to kill all my relatives, And then, even if I win, whom I am going to show off, right? All my valor or my chivalry and my strength and my archery skills, no one will be left, because this is a battle until you die, right? The battle of Kurukshetra. Even if I win, it's not worth it. Right? So he was thinking, why don't I become a sannyasi and go on begging, right? So Lord Krishna is indirectly hinting him the sannyasis, that is the external symptom of a sannyasi. The real purpose of a sannyasi is to develop self-control, controlling the most difficult thing, which is one's mind. That is the through yoga, through the studying the scriptures, he develops the knowledge to cut all the material attachments, and then he develops self-control. Then Arjuna says, "Oh no, I can't do that. It's impossible." When he says impossible, Lord Krishna says, "No, it's not impossible. There are people who do that. Through practice, it is possible." And then Lord Krishna keeps on going, and then at one point Arjuna is asking, "Oh, what happens to those people who don't attain any success?" So Lord Krishna is saying, such people, in the next life, they start from where they finished. Right? They finish from where they finish in a particular stage, because there are different stages of yoga. Right? And they end at particular maturity. They start from there. Unlike the achievements of the material world, you have a PhD, you cannot say that, or you finished your masters, you cannot say in next life that, hey, I was a master in my masters of computer science or whatever in my previous life, and so this life I am going to directly start my PhD program or doctorate program. You cannot say that. You have to still again go through grade 1, grade 2, like that. Do that in yogic discipline. And this is not just true about the Ashtanga yoga. In the purport in this chapter, Srila Prabhupada is saying this is true about other yogas as well. In bhakti yoga also same thing. So any type of yoga you do, you start from where you left. So that is what Lord Krishna is saying. So they are not losers, basically. And then after many lifetimes of practice, because this particular path, Ashtanga yoga, is not as simple. It's a very difficult, a very complex practice. There's so many things to be taken care. So it takes many lifetimes. Okay. And then finally they achieve the Supreme. And it is quite possible that in between, that Lord Krishna doesn't say, but our Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada say, it is also possible that yogis do get distracted by the siddhis, the different opulences they get. Right? Becoming smaller than the smallest, becoming larger than the largest. There's so many opulences they can, and they get distracted. So it's quite possible. So, but towards the end, Lord Krishna is saying, and that is this 47th verse of 6th chapter, Yoginamapi sarvesham madgatenantar atmana Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam samyukta tamo mata. And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Lord Krishna, and we'll read that in 7th chapter, he knows all living entities, he knows past, present, future. So when he is giving opinion, it matters. Because his opinion are not fraught with the four, what is that called? Four deficiencies of a typical jiva soul. Right? Illusion, they make mistakes, right? They are biased, right? Those kind of faults Lord Krishna doesn't have, because he knows everything. Right? So transcendental loving service is actually bhajate. So bhajate, actually the root word is bhaj. Bhaj means seva. Is a seva. The seva can be done by singing Lord's glories. It can be also done by dressing up the Lord with nice beautiful ornaments and clothing. It can also be done by bringing the devotees to your home and having a kirtan. They're all bhajan. Bhajan is not just song, singing. That is one part, singing and glorifying the Lord. That's one part. But there are other activities also, and that is why our Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, translated to transcendental loving service. So Lord Krishna is saying one who does this and thinks of him always, he is the highest of yogis. So he is actually saying that there may be, the yogis out there who are following the Ashtanga yoga path, yama, niyama, asan, right, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, dharana, then dhyan and samadhi. They are following that path. At some point they may realize that Vasudevam Sarvamiti. Lord Krishna is everything. He is controlling everything. Why take all this pain? Let me just surrender to him. And let me just serve him, because I as a soul cannot live without activity. I have to do some activity. That's the nature of my soul. So what activity I will do so that I do not incur karma? Because again I will then be, doing the life and birth and death cycle of this material world. I don't want that. And so he engages in transcendental activity, which does not incur karma. So Lord Krishna is saying that those devotees, they are highest of all. And there is a specialty about these devotees. Okay? There is specialty about the yogis. Okay? And that is what Lord Krishna is going to explain in the 7th chapter. Okay, so we'll go to 7th chapter. We have, I think, good background here. I'll just check quickly if we have any questions, comments, or anything like that in the online. Okay, so let me quickly check that. Please pardon my silence here. I'm just checking because I am the speaker and I'm the host today. So I'm just checking, online if there are any comments. And if you have any questions, folks on Zoom or comments, please feel free to unmute and ask. Okay. All right. So we will go ahead and start with chapter 7. So let us first go through the verses and the translation. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Ashakta Mana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madasaya Asamsayam Samagram Mam Yatha Jnayasi Tatsrinu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Pita, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt." So the 6th chapter was all about practicing yoga. But when you do that yoga, practice that yoga in full consciousness of Lord Krishna, then you can know Lord Krishna in full and there will not be any doubt. So that was the 6.47. He was telling that there are people The yogis who practice by concentrating, by being aware of me, specifically Krishna, right? So, and here Lord Krishna is saying, what do they know when they do that? He starts by saying that they know him in full, from doubt, and Lord Krishna will explain further, expand further. What does he mean by that? ज्ञानं ते अहं सविज्ञानम् इदं वक्ष्यामि यशेषत यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोऽन्यात् ज्ञातव्यम् अवशिष्यते. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal. Phenomenal means that with our senses we can observe, the five senses. Observe, that's phenomenal. And numinous, spiritual. Okay. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Indirectly saying, as far as the knowledge is concerned, it is incomplete if we only know what is phenomenal. Once we know phenomenal and numinous, that's complete knowledge. That is what Lord Krishna is saying. Manusyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvata. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. What is Lord Krishna saying here is not everyone endeavors for perfection. And when he's in Sanskrit, he's using the word siddha. Perfection is siddha. Those who are siddha, they do understand the nature, the material nature. They do understand living entities. How do they work? How do they interact with each other? They do understand. They even go to the extent of perfection means able to control. Okay? So in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you can read in detail. There are 18 opulences, 8 are principal, and then there are 10 other opulences, yogic opulences one can achieve. Perfections, opulences or perfections, whatever you call that, they achieve those. So they understand. If you want to control something, you have to understand it. They can control earth, they can control air, fire. The yogis can do that. Okay. But Lord Krishna is adding, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So they are able to know, they are able to control. Then why Lord Krishna is saying, hardly one knows me in truth? Right? To become, if you are Siddha, then you can control the elements, basically. Right? You can even control living entities. They have those kind of powers, yogis. But Lord Krishna is saying, hardly one knows him in truth. So let's go ahead and let's try to understand why Lord Krishna is saying that. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhirev cha ahankara itiyamme bhinna prakritirasthata. Lord Krishna is saying, Bhumirapo, bhumi, earth, apo, water, nalo, analo, actually it is analo, fire. Okay, no, so analo is, yes, analo fire, vayu is air, kham is actually ether. So there's a big controversy in the scientific circle. Kham has been translated as ether, and they say that there is nothing called ether. Okay. So there was an experiment, Michelson-Morley experiment, done, and in that they proved that there is nothing called ether. Okay. But we accept that there is something called ether. It may not be exactly the way the scientists perceive ether as. Okay. That is what is calm. Okay. But to be better lack of a word, that here the translation ether has been mentioned. Some places they are also mentioned as sky, okay, or space. Mano, mind, buddhi, intelligence, eva cha. Okay. Ahankara, false ego. Okay. Ahankara means aham is aham. Okay. I, kara, doer. I am the doer. Ahankara is essentially, that's what literally it means. I am the doer. Without knowing that there is a supreme soul who is also the doer, and your past karma, they also influence you. What you're doing, your endeavors also matter. So there are so many things that go into factor. But then ahankara is I am this body, I am the doer, that conception basically, right? Altogether, these eight constitute my separated material energies. So what is this? What is special? What is that? These people, there's so many siddhas, not so many siddhas, actually there are very few siddhas. That is what Lord Krishna is saying in the third verse. What knowledge do they lack? The knowledge they lack is they know earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. How do they work? They can control it, okay, to a limited extent. Unlike Krishna, who can control many universes, okay, in detail. But these people can control. They know it. What they lack is they don't know that these energies actually belong to Lord Krishna. And that is what Lord Krishna is saying. Kaschin mam veti tattvata. Hardly one knows me in truth, because they don't know, although they know all these elements, they don't know they belong to Krishna. They actually belong to Lord Krishna. They are separated from him, that's okay. Right? Like for example, even in our material world, my car is not inside me, my car is separately lying in the garage, but that's still my car. Right? So we can take that kind of analogy. Yeah. There are separated material energies we see. They all belong to Krishna. Although they are Krishna is not having all of them in his body. Although in some particular state of creation, he does have all of those things in his body, and then he takes them out when he creates. It's like the spider web, right? The spider, see, he secretes the web, he creates that creation, and then he takes it back, the spider, right? Same way. But the main thing to focus here is my separated material energies. That they don't know, that they belong to Krishna. Aparayam itastu anyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho ya yadam dharyate jagat. Besides these, O mighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities for exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Again, going back to the third verse, this also living entities, Jiva Bhuta, is also the yogis know that there are living entities, they are special categories, okay, of energy. There are some, they have consciousness, they are aware about themselves, they are aware about the environment, they always don't behave predictably, and they also know that they know ways to control those living entities, these yogis. But what knowledge they lack? Mind. They know all that. They can even control them to a limited extent, unlike Krishna. But they don't know that they actually belong to Lord Krishna. They can also see that living entities are exploiting the resources of the material inferior nature. We can see that, right? Most of the problems like climate and many other things, right? Species extinction, certain species cannot be found. Okay? They're all because of excessive exploitation of this material inferior nature by the living entities which are superior energy. We can see that. But what we don't understand is they actually belong to Krishna. Right? So that is what Lord Krishna is saying in third verse, that rarely any of those who have achieved siddha or perfections know me as the truth. Etad yonini bhutani sarvaniti upadharaya aham krishnasya jagata prabhava pralayas tatha. All created beings have their souls in these two natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual, means the living entities in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. Okay. So before I go and explain the sixth verse, I would like to add one more thing is until fifth verse, Lord Krishna now clarified that if you now go back to that last verse of the sixth chapter where Lord Krishna is saying, when the yogis concentrate on Lord Krishna, okay, they are the best. Why they are the best? Because they have the knowledge in full. They not only know the 8 material energies, they not only know the living entities like the Siddhas, but they also know both of them belong to Lord Krishna. They have that knowledge. And that is why such people are very rare to be found. Very rare. Because most of the times, because the yogis don't concentrate on the form of Lord Krishna, they get distracted by the 18 opulences I was talking about. Because, see, okay, here I am, I can control all this material energy, I can control all these jivas, and that's all it is. That's the truth. That's how they see the world. They don't understand that this all belongs to Krishna and everything is working as per his will. Okay. They don't understand that. All created beings. Okay, so this one we just now read. Okay. So Lord Krishna is saying not just that they are mine, but I am also responsible for their creation, origin, and their dissolution. That is annihilation. The specific word dissolution has been mentioned because that has a special significance. Dissolution comes from dissolve. Like, for example, if you take a sugar crystal and put in water, you will see it dissolves. Means its manifested state is no more manifest, but it dissolves into the water. When our universe goes through the process of destruction, each of the elements, they merge with the previous. The earth merges with water, water merges with fire, fire merges with air, air merges back to sky, sky back to mind, mind to intelligence, intelligence to false ego. Everything gets dissolved, okay, and then it goes back to the body of Mahavishnu, who is in the Karanjal creating unlimited universes. And Mahavishnu is nothing but an expansion of Lord Krishna. So that is what Lord Krishna is saying. He is responsible for both the origin and the dissolution. So here dissolution is actually talking about the dissolution of the Jiva Bhuta or living entities. Right? So Jiva Bhuta dissolution is when we die, everything in our body, everything gets merged back. They kind of merge back to the 5 elements. They absorb. Right? So he is saying that he is both the origin and he is also the dissolution, okay, for everything in this world. And after this verse, I'll see if anyone has any comment or questions. Mataha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. O conqueror of wealth, that is Dhananjaya, okay, that's the name of Arjuna, okay, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Okay. So when he says there is no truth superior to me, so if you talk about absolute truth or Param Satya, so he is the Param Satya. There is nothing beyond it. That is what Lord Krishna is saying. And he is saying that he is not just truth, he is not just the source of the living entities and this material manifestation. He is also present in them like a thread in a necklace of pearls. What does thread do? If you look at all the motis or the pearls, right, in a necklace, what does the thread do? Thread ensures that they don't get scattered away. Thread also ensures that they have some purpose, right? You cannot just, take bunch of motis and offer it to, and you can do that, offer it to Krishna. It will have much more meaning if you thread them and form a necklace and offer it to Krishna. That has more meaning. Otherwise, the individual motifs don't have any meaning. They don't have any purpose. Only when you put them in an ornament, in the form of an ornament, then it has some purpose, it has some meaning. Okay? And Lord Krishna will now give some examples after this. Okay? So let me now stop sharing and see if there are any questions anywhere. Okay? And those who are here, they can always, unmute and ask any question, comments, feedback, corrections, everything is fine. Let me see. Okay, Facebook, there are no comments. YouTube, there are no comments. Okay. Okay. So I don't see any comments. I don't see any questions here as well in the Zoom. So I will continue. Text it. Sorry. रसोऽहम् अप्सु कौन्तेया प्रभास्मि शशि सूर्ययो प्रणव सर्ववेदेषु शब्दखे पौरुषं निषु. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, I am the sound in ether and ability in man. So in each of these things, if you look at, then you will see that wherever Lord Krishna is saying, I am this, in this, that I am this is actually the purpose. Like I am the taste of water. Why people drink water? To quench their thirst. That taste of the water helps them quench the thirst. It gives meaning to water. It gives purpose to water. The light of the sun and moon, what is the meaning of sun and moon if they don't provide light? Moon in the night, sun in the daytime. Right? So he gives meaning to sun and moon. The syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. So all of Vedic knowledge actually started with one simple mantra, and that is Om. Right? Without Om, the Vedic mantras don't have any value. And Lord Krishna is saying, I am that. I am the sound in ether, in sky, or ether, or you can say sky, and ability in man. Right? So if in empty space there are no beautiful sounds, then what is the meaning of the empty space? Right? The sounds travel, they reach our ears, and they give us solace. Similarly, in ability in man, right? A human being, if he does not have any ability to do something, then he doesn't, society will see in general, doesn't give much value to that person. Right? Only a person, when a person has capability, he or she is valued. Right? And that capability actually comes from Lord Krishna. पुण्यगन्धा पृथिव्यां च तेजश्चास्मि विभावसौ जीवनं सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चास्मि तपस्विषु. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. Again, you can see, the fragrance that comes from the earth, the pure fragrance, the original fragrance, after hot summer, when the first rain falls, the fragrance you get from the earth, that is the original fragrance, and it is a very beautiful, sweet smell. You can see, very calming influence, and that Lord Krishna is saying, that is me. It gives a purpose to the earth, right? All the wonderful fragrant flowers actually are fragrant because of the fragrance which earth gives to them. But that original fragrance of all those fragrances is Lord Krishna himself. And I'm the heat in fire. There's no purpose of fire when it's cold winter. If you light a fire and there is no heat, what is the meaning of fire? So that heat in fire is Lord Krishna. I am the life of all that lives. A beautiful person, if there is no life in that person, you don't say that, oh, you look at the beauty, I am going to keep that person. No, you will, depending on whichever faith or religion he belongs to, you either bury, or you throw him or her, or you burn their body, right? So the meaning of the people who live is the life, and that comes from Lord Krishna. And I am the penances of all ascetics. If someone says that I'm a tapasvi, okay, I'm an ascetic, but then he doesn't do any penance, right? Maybe standing on one leg or stopping the breathing, whatever. That is what gives meaning to an ascetic, and that penance actually comes from Lord Krishna. Anything in this world you see, there is a meaning. What is the meaning of that person? What is the purpose? Not person or thing or person. What is the meaning? What is the purpose? That is Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna gives purpose or meaning, just like a thread, gives purpose to the beads of a necklace, to the pearls. Bijam mam sarvabhutanam vidhipartha sanatanam buddhir buddhi matamashmi tejas tejasvinamaham. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. So anything you see, either abstract or tangible, that means abstract means you cannot feel it, or tangible, you can feel it. Okay? Anything, okay? I am the original seed. And that's the reason why there is a purpose. The purpose actually, because he is the original seed, through the seed he gives purpose to those existences. Okay? The intelligence of the intelligent. Right? So an intelligent person, if he doesn't have intelligence, then why we call that person intelligent? But that intelligence comes from Lord Krishna. So through intelligence, he gives meaning to an intelligent person. And through strength, through prowess, he gives meaning to powerful men. Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivartitam dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamusmi bharata rashabha. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. Right? So Lord Krishna is saying here that the pure strength of the strong people, which helps in protecting others, because the people who have passion and desire, they're in those modes, right? Passion and ignorance modes. They misuse the strength, and that strength is not Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is saying the strength of the strong, which is devoid of passion and desire, means that strength is used to protect others. That strength is me. And I'm sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. Okay. So the reason why Lord Krishna is saying this, after I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire, is because that the strong people do have children, right? And you cannot have children if you don't have sex. So Lord Krishna is saying that the sex which is used for having Krishna conscious children following the religious principles, that is me. But the unrestricted sex, typically followed by people in passion and in desire, right? That not acknowledging any or not following any religious principles, that's not Krishna. Okay? Krishna is saying the sex life, anything which is not contrary to religious principles or order of the Bharata, that is also Krishna. It comes from Krishna. ये चैव सात्विक भाव राजसास्तामसाश्च ये मत एवेति तान् विधि न तो अहम तेषु ते मयि. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. So till the 11th verse, Lord Krishna kept on giving examples. He kept on giving examples to expand, because he said a statement that he is like the thread which joins all the pearls into a necklace, right? He gives meaning. So he gave all these examples that how one can perceive that, right? And he so gave so many examples, right? And after that, he's saying all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. So he cannot keep on giving example for everything. So he's sort of summarizing and making a general statement that any of these existences, the ones I explained and the ones I don't explain, are actually manifested by my energy. And what energy? The energy, those two energies, right? The superior energy, which is living entities, and the inferior energy, which is those 8 things, right? The earth, water, fire, and till falls ego. So I am in one sense everything. Everything you see, both tangible and intangible, phenomenal and luminous, he is everything. But simply because he is everything, that doesn't mean he is dependent on them. His existence does not depend on them. Everything in this world you can perceive either tangibly by your senses or intangibly, you can feel it, right? You can be conscious of it. Those things, they're all manifested by his energy. But he is still independent of them. His existence is independent of those energies. It means those energies are dependent on him, but he is not dependent on them. And that is what he explains here further in the next sentence. I am not under the modes of natural nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. So he is further explaining here, whatever he said, that how he is independent. Everything in this world are basically result of the modes of material nature, and they don't influence me, and that is how I'm independent. But they are within me. Because they are within me, that is why I use them to manifest both the living entities and these energies, separated material energies. त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर् एभिः सर्वम् इदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति माम् एभ्यः परम् अव्ययम्. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. This particular sentence has a special significance with the verse 3 we read. In verse 3, Lord Krishna is saying that hardly one knows me in truth. Why? And he's giving the reason here. That why hardly people know him is because they are deluded by the 3 modes. So 3 modes of material nature are essentially acting as a cover on their consciousness, and so they don't realize that all that they are interacting with actually belongs to Lord Krishna, who is above the modes and inexhaustible. They can only see things which are products of the modes of nature, that is this 3 things. They cannot see the cause of the modes of nature. because they are covered by the modes of nature, deluded. And that is why it is very hard to find a person who actually know the complete truth, which is the material energies, the living entities, which is the superior energy, and they both belong to Krishna. That truth, they both belong to Krishna, is rarely people know. दैवी हि एषा गुणामयी मम माया दुरत्यया माम एवाय प्रपद्यन्ते मायाम एताम तरन्ति ते. दैवी एषा गुणामयी, this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. Goddess Durga, who represents these three modes of material nature, that's why you see her having a Trishul. Trishul has three prongs, the three modes of nature, and is putting the Mahishasur down with that. Okay, Mahishasur represents the living entity who wants to conquer the modes of material nature. Okay, he wants to overcome. But what three modes of material nature represented by the Lord Goddess Durga do? She puts him down. By your own effort, you cannot conquer me. That's the message from Goddess Durga to the living entities. Okay. But those who have surrendered unto me can as well cross beyond it. But if Goddess Durga sees that you have surrendered to her brother, which is Lord Krishna, elder brother, Lord Krishna, then she happily lets you go. No Trishul for you, no three modes of material nature for you. Okay. न मां दुष्कृतिनो मूढ़ा प्रपद्यन्ते नराधमा मायया परहत ज्ञाना ashuram bhavamasrita. Now Lord Krishna is explaining, after giving this statement about if you surrender to Lord Krishna, then three modes of material nature will let you go. After saying that, he then further explains which are the people who do not surrender. Okay, so those who are grossly foolish, almost like stones, day in and day out, they are simply struggling, beasts of burden, right? Working day and night and enjoying life. They think that's life it is. So there is nothing beyond this. For lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, like the professors, scientists who say there is no God, right? And who partake of the atheistic nature of demons. They are those who know that there is a God, okay, but they see God as competitor. Atheistic nature of demons. They don't understand. They also came from the same God. Okay? They became like this is because they don't want to surrender. So they are completely under the three modes of material nature. So all these four categories of people that do not surrender to Lord Krishna. And this purport is very big. It's very important for those who go and do book distribution, those who do preaching. It's very important, this purport for them, because we want to, as devotees, we want to avoid this kind of people. We can probably, accidentally we may come in contact with them, and we can simply give them maybe, little bit of, we can just ask them to join in our kirtan, enjoy the, kind of relish, get in contact with Lord Krishna's holy name, with wonderful music and dance. We should also be very careful in giving them prasadam, because you don't know these envious people what they will do with the prasadam, right? Which is Lord Krishna's mercy. But kirtan is fine, you can always let them listen Lord Krishna's name, because may not be this life, maybe in some life they will, that pious activity will bring them close to Krishna. Okay. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritiно arjuna arto jigyasurartharthi Jnani cha Bharata Rashabha. O best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. So these are the people who surrender for different reasons, okay, but still they surrender. The distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for the knowledge of the absolute. So distressed means some kind of material problem going on, maybe disease or something like that. This desire of wealth, lack of wealth, so they want some wealth. Inquisitive, they are curious people, okay, innocent, curious people, and who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. One who knows that there is a supreme truth, who is controlling everything, and they're searching for it. What is that supreme truth? Okay. And these four people, they fall under the category of, at least they have some sense of surrender, okay, to Lord Krishna. तेषां ज्ञानि नित्ययुक्ता एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानिनोत्यार्थम् aham sacha mama priya. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. Okay. So here Lord Krishna is talking about, in the third verse is talking about, someone who knows Krishna in truth, basically, that everything came from Krishna, Krishna is the cause of everything. So Lord Krishna is talking about that kind of person. Okay, pure devotional service means unalloyed. Unalloyed comes, that state comes, unalloyed devotional service, when you know with full conviction that everything came from Krishna, he is all knowledgeable, he cannot do mistakes. So whatever happening in my life is perfect for me, maybe even better. He is merciful. Maybe, without his presence, it would have been a lot more worse for me. When someone comes to this realization, there is nothing more to ask because everything is happening as it should, as per Krishna's will. So what is there to ask from Krishna? Right? Anything you will ask will not be perfect because we are imperfect. Our knowledge is imperfect. Our desires are imperfect. So anything, if those are the inputs, then the output will be imperfect. What we are asking Krishna. The person who knows everything is already taking care of us. So what is there to ask? Once a person comes to this state, then the pure devotional service starts. And Lord Krishna is saying such a person is very dear to Lord Krishna. Why? Because he has understood. He has understood the full truth. He has understood the full truth. Everything came from Krishna. Krishna is controlling everything. He knows everything. He cannot do anything wrong. That truth he understood. So he is liberated. Although he is engaged in this world in various activities, he is already liberated. So Lord Krishna likes that person a lot. Okay? Udara sarva evaite jnanitva atmaiva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mam evanu tamam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. Now Lord Krishna is talking about all those four, those who are distressed and well, they are also magnanimous souls, Lord Krishna is saying. But he who is situated in knowledge of me, here he is talking about the previous verse, the pure devotional service, full knowledge, that person. I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service is sure to attain me the highest and most perfect goal. Right? Because that person who is situated in knowledge of Krishna, the Lord Krishna considers that person to be like his own self because he is in complete alignment with the Lord Krishna. He knows that the world is working perfectly already. So there is nothing more to ask. It is not just, Krishna is the source, but then, it's fine, he's the source, but he can do some wrong. So let me ask something this. Maybe, he ignored me. Okay. He is so busy with so many things. He probably did not pay attention, and that is why my life has gone off rails. So let me ask Krishna, let me get some attention from him, and let me ask him. No, Krishna is there, and in 8th chapter we read Krishna is there in everyone's heart as Paramatma. He's saying he knows everything. He knows more than what you know about yourself. He is always attentive. He is always looking at. He is the witness in the heart, and he's looking at the other bird, which is you, who is all the time thinking, I want this, that, like he's doing monkey business. He's watching, you know. So, but once one realizes that and he turns to Krishna, then he has already solved all the problems in his life. And that is what this whole material creation is about. The 14 worlds is all about that, for correcting us, correcting that tendency to enjoy in this world. Once a person's that tendency is corrected, Krishna has achieved his goal. And so he's very happy with that person. And that person is also achieved his goal. Okay? Now he is not disturbed by anything. Bahunam janmanamante jnanvan ma prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Now what he mentioned in the previous verse, Lord Krishna is saying, it's not very easy to find such a person. It's pretty much reflecting the same thing in the 3rd verse again. He's kind of repeating that here. That the person who knows Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Mahatma is Sudurlava. Kaschin Yatati Siddhave. The same thing he's repeating. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. He's again repeating that. Okay. But in between, he is expanding of what that person is. Okay. One should not think that he is just like a yogi. No. He is actually a bhakti yogi. That is what Lord Krishna is clarifying again. Engaged in my transcendental service. He is understood what is a soul. Soul cannot live without activity. He has understood that truth. So he engages in activity, but to the Lord, transcendental service. So he doesn't incur karma. Because the karma itself caused him to become blind. So understand that truth also. He wants to engage in activity, but not really incur any karma. So he has understood that truth. But such a soul is very rare. Kamastarta hitagyana prapadyante anya devata tam niyamam asthaya prakrita niyata swaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own nature. Now Lord Krishna is saying, so there are people who do not surrender, the 4 categories. Then there are people who come to him, surrender, and out of them there are people who perform unalloyed devotional service. Then there is a 3rd category he's talking about. Lord Krishna is these people, at least, they go to demigods, although they don't understand that these demigods are also energies of Lord Krishna. They don't understand that part. But still, they are going to people appointed by Lord Krishna. So in some way they are okay. At least better than the people who don't want to surrender at all. Right? So, but their intelligence, but why some people go to demigods? Is because their intelligence has been stolen by material desires. True intelligence has been stolen. And they surrender unto demigods instead of Lord Krishna and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Okay. Whatever their nature is, accordingly their material desire, and accordingly they worship those demigods. Accordingly they also get gurus, and accordingly they get the scriptures. That is why you see in Vedic scriptures there are so many contradictions in terms of God, like who is supreme, demigod, this, that. There are actually no contradictions, because in olden days there was no internet, or there was no big library where you can download all the books and keep reading. It was passed down from guru to shishya, and this guru to shishya is not only for the bhakti yogis, it was also present for other paths. And so the guru, who is a worshipper of, let's say, Lord Ganesha, will only know how to worship Lord Ganesha, and he will give that knowledge to his Sishya. And Sishya will know only that, and he will practice that. So only that part of scripture he will transfer. So there is no contradiction where Ganesha has been shown as supreme. Similarly, the other types of scriptures and other types of demigods. Right? So there are no contradictions. It is we have to look at the context. Are you worshipping Ganesha? Are you worshipping Lord Krishna? Are you worshipping Durga, Surya? Accordingly, there are scriptures, there are guru, there are procedures, rules, regulations, all that. Okay. But there is something special, and Lord Krishna tells that in the next verse. Yo yo yam tanum bhakta shraddhaya chitum ichchati tasya tasya chalam sadham tam eva vidadhami aham. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul, which will expand in the 8th chapter, but he is saying here. In everyone's heart, he is there as the super soul, Paramatma. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Unlike the jivas, oh, come and worship me. And if he sees that that person worships someone else, then he will try to put all kinds of obstacles in his path so that he gets frustrated, and then that person comes to you only. Lord Krishna is not like that. Fine, if you want to worship that deity, fine. I will make your faith stronger to that deity. See, he's all renounced. This shows that Lord Krishna is all renounced. He doesn't need our worship, basically. He's not dependent on our worship. Okay. It's fine. You want to worship someone else, go ahead, worship. No worries, I will give you help. I will make your faith stronger. Instead, he says, I will make your faith stronger. Okay. Sadaya sataya shraddhaya yuktas tasyaradhanam ihate labhate cha tatah kaman maiva vihitan hitan. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. It's not only he make his faith steady to worship that demigod, but he also, the results which demigod gives, they actually ask from Krishna that, hey, this person has been worshipping me, he has followed all the rules and regulations. Can I give him this? And Krishna says, fine. And he goes and gives. So that actually benefit also comes from Krishna. But Krishna hides himself from that person. Okay. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavati alpamedhasham devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Why they are called small intelligence? Lord Krishna is saying, because they ask for fruits which are limited. His answer is here. Ask for fruits which are limited and temporary. They will come to him and then they will go. Either in his lifetime or as his life ends. Right? They are temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods. So when the universal annihilation takes place, the demigods also dissolve. They are also energies, Krishna's energy, and they dissolve. Just like other living entities. So they have an end. So that living entity who is worshipping demigod and goes to the planet of the demigods also ends. Okay. But my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Okay. So they come to Krishna. Krishna's planet never dissolves. It is eternal. So they live there eternally, worshipping and serving Krishna. Avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyante mam abuddhaya param bhavam ajananto mana abvayam anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So, Mayavadis, impersonalists existed that time also. Okay? And their view of the truth, absolute truth, is Brahman, okay? Which is Nirakar, does not have any form, any attributes. And just like all the other demigods, they are actually very powerful covering of Maya on the Brahman. Okay, their Brahman is much bigger and they are much more powerful. Okay, that's what their conception of demigod is. And similarly, Lord Krishna, they just say that the Lord Krishna covers all of the Brahman, and he represents all of the Brahman, and but then he still is under Maya. Okay, and that is what our acharyas said, Mayavadis, and that is a great offense at the feet of Lord Krishna, because Bhagavad Gita clearly says that in the 14th chapter, he clearly says that Lord Krishna establishes Brahman at the end of 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But they ignore that verse and they cannot explain, that if he is the basis of Brahman, how he can fall under Maya. And here itself in this chapter we read that Lord Krishna never comes under Maya. He is clearly saying that I am independent of them. But they don't accept. Okay? And that existed at that time also. And such people, Lord Krishna is saying, are unintelligent men. Okay, who do not know me perfectly, think that I, the Supreme Personality of God, he was impersonal before, and the Krishna's form with the flute and everything is just a temporary manifestation on the earth 5,000 years back. Okay. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. They don't know that he is that Narayan, he is that Vishnu, okay, whose form is eternal. They don't know that. He establishes Brahman, not that he is a form that comes from Brahman. Okay. Such people, Lord Krishna is describing as unintelligent. Okay. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrita muro ayam na vijanati lokoma majam avvayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Okay. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kasyana. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Okay. So why Lord Krishna is describing these attributes about himself, we clear in the next verse. Ichha dvesa samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sargayanti parantapa. O scion of Bharat, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arising from desire and hate. He is making a statement, all living entities. And here also in previous verse you see saying all living entities. So he's able to make a statement about all living entities are born into delusion is because he knows all living entities. That is what he says in the previous verse. And he says that every living entity is born into delusion because of the dualities that arise from desire and hate. But how that goes away? He explained that bewildered by dualities arising from desire and hate, how that thing goes away. Okay. Here Lord Krishna is saying in 28th verse, Yesham tu anta gatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohani mukta bhajante mam dridagata. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated are freed from the dualities of delusion. So, in previous lives they had done pious activity, in this life they are doing pious activity, and thus their sinful actions are gone. This pious activity is not the regular pious activity. These pious activities are devotional activities, because regular pious activities are not going to cancel your sinful actions. You will have to suffer your sinful actions, and you will enjoy the regular materialistic pious activities. These pious activities are devotional pious activities, which has the capacity to cancel sinful reactions. And then what happens, the most important thing, the dualities of delusion that arise from desire and hate go away. And then they can see clearly that Lord Krishna is everything. He is the source of everything. He controls everything. And therefore, they engage themselves. And He is all good, all merciful. So He does everything perfect. So they engage themselves in my service with determination. Jara marana mokshaya mama sritya yatantiye te brahma tad vidhu krishnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. It is important to pay attention to verse 29 and verse 30. Whenever in future you go and read 8th chapter and you see Arjuna is asking 7 questions, those are related to these 2 verses. Okay? So in 29th he is saying that the people who want liberation from old age and death, that's not possible. If you have a body, you will have old age, you will have death. So what Lord Krishna is trying to say that they will not take birth again. And that is how they will not have old age and death. So such type of people, they engage in devotional service, okay, who want liberation from old age and death. And they engage in transcendental activities. साधिभूतादिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदु प्रयाणकाले अपि च मां ते विदु युक्तचेतसा. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation, all these material manifestations, galaxies and everything, he governs it. Of the demigods, all the devatas, he governs them. All methods of sacrifice, remember, when you are working hard to earn money, that is also a sacrifice because you are sacrificing your time there. So all methods of sacrifice, okay, yajna you are doing, or you are trying to detach yourself from the senses, they are all sacrifices. They're elaborately described in the 4th chapter, right? So transcendental knowledge, that's the 4th chapter. So all methods of sacrifice he governs. When someone is in that consciousness that he is the governing principle of all those things and is always conscious of Krishna, can know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. And that is the ultimate goal, that we have to know Lord Krishna when we leave this. Okay? And what I'm going to do is, I said, what is the substance of the 7th chapter? Because we read about so many things. Although I summarize, there can be no summary better than the summary provided by Srila Prabhupada. So I will take 2 more minutes and I will read it. So please pay attention. Many subjects have been discussed in this chapter. The man in distress, the inquisitive man, the man in want of material necessities, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Paramatma, liberation from birth, death and diseases, and worship of the Supreme Lord. However, he who is actually elevated in Krishna consciousness does not care for the different processes. He simply directly engages in activities of Krishna consciousness and thereby factually attains his constitutional position as eternal servitor of Lord Krishna. In such a situation, he takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service, means no ulterior motive. Because he knows that Krishna cannot do wrong. He knows everything, he controls everything, so he cannot do anything wrong. So in my life also, in others' lives also, everything is going on perfectly. Although I might see them, they may appear like they are suffering and all. Actually, it is perfect. Okay? So they engage in pure devotional service. He is convinced that but by his doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. This determined faith is Judavata, and it is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, transcendental loving service. So one may ask that the pure devotees, they go and preach, right? That is our main focus in ISKCON. So are we going there to them to solve their material problems? Yes, we are going there. Just like after getting the conception that Krishna cannot do wrong, he's controlling everything is happening fine, okay, they tell the same thing to others and ask them to come to Krishna and his devotees. So that even though something adverse is happening in their life, they know how to tolerate it. That is the most important thing. And that is what, that kind of faith, we ask people to go and develop that faith in Lord Krishna. And it is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, transcendental service. That is the verdict of all scriptures. And this 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the substance of that conviction, that Dhriravata, that determination of pure devotional service. That is what Lord Krishna is saying here in the 7th chapter, and that is the substance of the conviction, is the main focus of topic of 7th chapter. That is the takeaway. Okay. I will now stop sharing and I've already went past 5 minutes. I really apologize for that. In case anyone has any questions, any comments, they can unmute and ask, or corrections are also fine. While I'm looking at YouTube, and I don't see any comments there. Okay. All right. So looks like no one has any comments. If you have, you can always unmute and you can say, but I think I went past 6 minutes. So I'm going to now close this session. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। Thank you, devotees, for
Thank you,
taking
sir,
time from you.
for very good class.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for taking time, busy time from regular week. We do have classes on Saturday morning and Sunday evening at our temple in 1965 Latham Street, Mountain View. So if you can, please join there. Those classes are online as well. And again, online only class we will meet next Wednesday. I'll now close this session. Thank you again. Very well.